January, a change in the procedures of the House of Representatives placed into the hands of the Democratic caucus the power to appoint committee chairmen and to establish House voting rules. The man elected as chairman of the Democratic caucus that year was Congressman Philip Burton, the same man who 15 years earlier had helped to lead the disruption of the House committee hearings in San Francisco. Burton wasted no time in using the power of his new position. With the help of Congressman Robert Drinan, a Catholic priest from Massachusetts, and with other longtime foes of the committee, he drafted a measure to abolish it. This was not in the form of proposed legislation that, as in the past, could be openly debated, but as one of the new operating rules of the House. As such, it could not be singled out. All the rules had to be accepted or rejected as a single package. A no vote would have paralyzed Congress until a new package could be rewritten. Many congressmen who favored the continuance of the committee were unwilling to delay the opening of Congress, and others were equally unwilling to vote against their own party caucus. And so, on January 14, 1975, the House Committee on Internal Security ceased to exist. After the vote, Congressman Drinan was recognized on the floor of the House and introduced into the congressional record a tribute to Communist Party member Frank Wilkinson for his efforts on behalf of the successful abolition campaign. With the elimination of the House Committee, the Senate Internal Security Subcommittee became the only anti-subversion investigative body left in Congress. But it too had powerful foes. The committee actually was a subcommittee of the Senate Judiciary Committee. One of the members of the Judiciary Committee was Senator Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts, who for many years had been an outspoken foe of congressional investigations of this kind. In March of 1977, Kennedy finally succeeded in gathering enough support to cut off all funding for the Internal Security Subcommittee. Abolished by lack of funding, there have been no hearings and no investigations since that date. Once the investigating committees of Congress had been silenced, the FBI became the primary target of attack. One of the first moves in this campaign was to destroy the prestige and morale of FBI agents by publicly charging them with criminal activities. This had long been a tactic of the ACLU and the National Lawyers Guild, but it wasn't until the Justice Department of the federal government assumed this task that the strategy became effective. In April of 1978, Mark Felt, formerly the number 2 man in the FBI, and Edward Miller, his assistant in charge of the Domestic Intelligence Division, were indicted in federal court on charges brought against them by the Justice Department. Felt and Miller had authorized FBI investigators to surreptitiously enter the apartments of members and friends of the Weather Underground organization. The purpose of these entries was to search for information that would reveal the whereabouts of terrorists who were known to be responsible for bombings in New York and Washington. Another purpose was to discover the planned locations of future bombs so they could be intercepted and destroyed beforehand. FBI Associate Director Mark Felt tells the story.
In March of 1970, a luxury townhouse in Greenwich Village, New York, blew up with a tremendous explosion. And as an interesting sidelight, out of the smoking and dust and rubble ran 2 females. One was completely naked, and the other had a pair of jeans. That was the Kathy Wilkinson and Catherine Boudin. They went to neighbors and got clothes and eventually were spirited out of the country to Cuba. But the interesting thing, and most people don't know this and they should, what they were doing there was making bombs. They were making anti-personnel bombs. They were taking 4 or 5 sticks of dynamite, hundreds of heavy nails, and taping the nails on the outside of the dynamite so that when it exploded, it would send those nails out in every direction, and of course any one like a bullet, so they would have killed hundreds of people had they been successful. I was very concerned, and at that time I authorized FBI agents to enter the apartments of 5 members and supporters of the Weather Underground, trying to search for information that would tell us where the next bomb was going off, or what their plans were, or where the fugitives were, intelligence information. This is a technique called surreptitious entry. Some people call it a black bag job.